What's going on, you guys? I am back again, and today I'm going to be reviewing season 1 of my favorite TV show of all time, 24, created by Joel Surnow and Robert Cochran. Now, this show stars Kiefer Sutherland. You probably know him from Ace, from Stand By Me, and from The Lost Boys, Flatliners. This was the show that fully reignited his career and made him a household name. Now, this show, Kiefer Sutherland stars as Jack Bauer, who works for a company called CTU, Counter-Terrorist Unit, as he tries to race against the clock to stop different forms of terrorism against the United States, whether it's assassination attempts, bioweapons, nuclear weapons. In season 1, it deals with him dealing with three different things. People trying to assassinate a presidential candidate, played by Dennis Haysbert, who plays David Palmer, who is probably one of my favorite characters in the whole show, besides Jack Bauer himself. So people are trying to assassinate him, not because of his race or whatever, but because of something else, which I won't spoil for you. And he's also trying to figure out if there's a mole, somebody working within CTU trying to thwart Jack's every move, and the potential kidnapping of his wife and daughter played by Elisha Kuthbert, who plays Kim Bauer, who I really love in this show. Now, my history with this show, when I first saw it, I was 13, and I knew little about it. My mom turned it on at one point because she found it on Netflix, and I started watching it, and I was like, that sounds interesting. It looks pretty cool. And I watched an entire show. I watched an entire episode. It was random. I don't remember what episode it was. It was season 1 though, and I became like addicted to it. Like, I'm still addicted to it to this day. I'm still watching the show this many years later. And this was the TV show that inspired me to start writing. I've been writing ever since I saw this show. In fact, when I first wrote, I would actually cover the same format. Like, at the beginning of every episode, it says the following takes place between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. And so much happens in 1 hour that you're like, oh my God, that was only an hour. We have like another 23 hours to go. It's crazy. This show is insane. It's action-packed. It's suspenseful. It's gripping. It's got everything you need. And it also, in some ways, it's kind of a political thriller. And now, anybody who's not a fan of political thrillers, this show will get you into them. Or at least this might be the only show that's a political thriller that you will like. So, yeah, a lot of stuff goes on because we know that David Palmer is running for president. We know that, certain things about his family that have happened. And none of it feels like, it doesn't feel put in there just for sympathy. Like, they're not just trying to give us sympathy for these characters just for the heck of it. No, we actually feel what they feel. And it's an insane thing to go through. And plus, Jack, like, whenever he thinks he's solved something, whether it's a mole in his company or anything like that, a new threat emerges that's tied to the event that started this whole season altogether. And, I'm sure you guys know who I'm going to talk about for a little while now, and that's going to be Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer. Man, this guy is a total badass. He is crazy. This guy will do anything he can he'll do whatever it takes to get these stuff done. He'll do whatever it takes. He'll do stuff that's a bit unorthodox against his company. Like, he will literally, when they have somebody who's tied to the assassination attempt of David Palmer, he will literally get a call from somebody else working with him that, okay, like, if you don't release this person, we're going to hurt this person, or we're going to do something else. And he will break that person out to prevent something worse from happening. And yes, sometimes what he does is illegal, but he's doing it for the good of the country. And you completely buy it. It's amazing. I loved Jack Bauer in this show. Kiefer Sutherland, you sold it, man. I wish I was you, in a way. In fact, yeah, this was the show that inspired me to start writing. And also, Elisha Cuthbert is Kim Bauer. She's a normal 16-year-old girl who basically runs off in the middle of the night, and she ends up being caught in this entire conspiracy, and it's crazy. And the show is kind of a slow burn in a way because because so much happens in 1 hour, and then you're like, oh my god, this is a very slow day. Like, but it's a slow burn that's actually good. Like, it doesn't feel too slow. This show is perfectly paced. This season is perfectly paced. I'll talk about more seasons in the future, but season 1 is the most perfectly paced. It's got the best character development. It has some really good action sequences. It's got some really tight suspense. And there's some stuff that just happens that catches you off guard, but in the best way possible. Like, this show knows how to mess with you. And that's what I really love about it. 24 is my favorite show of all time. I really recommend you guys check it out if you're a fan of action thrillers, political thrillers, or dramas. If you like that kind of thing, this is the show for you. There's up to 9 seasons of this thing, even a movie, which I will get into later on. But 24 is the show that made me who I am today. It made me more of a lover of film. It made me a writer. And that's why 24 Season 1 gets an A+. Thank you guys so much as always for watching. Look forward to more reviews for this show coming up pretty soon. I will have Season 2 up eventually. So if you like this, click.